Come on, Mark.
Anyone have a Valium? Hear me all right? Andy, while I have your well water. Good morning. Dude, it does matter. In the year before this one, an old friend, Brent Colby, saw all, as cranky Robert Frost penned in his poem Out Out. Whammo, just like that. Little, less, nothing. Brent Colby liked to ponder the causal arrow of time, had a zealous affection for his 12-pound mountain howitzer. It fired a 12-pound shell. Brent loved to shoot skeet, loved to read, and loved to lean on your car door and yammer for what was always turned into late afternoon. In the process, however, he would always manage to find 2 or more ice-cold Pilsner Urquells from the depth of his battered cooler. Worth it. Brent's hair was piano key white, kind of Daenerys Targaryen-esque. Snowy from the day I first met him 30 years ago. Brent was the first guy I knew with a white ponytail hanging halfway down his back. Brent sported a Sam Elliott stash. Elliott's the Dodge Ram truck voice, the voice of Coors, and the narrator in The Big Lebowski. Brent's was a drooping, white gunslinger mustache, white despite all those camel straights always dangling from his gob, nary a smudge of hot dog mustard, nor an errant tomato seed on the upside or the downside. Brent was one hell of a carpenter, finished carpenter, cabinet maker. This was a man who knew his wood, knew his books, knew his tools, and knew how to miter through life straight, right along the scribe mark. He was indeed the coolest guy around. Before Brent croaked, he had sent 2 sons to Exeter and then off to Stanford and Penn. Brent went to BB&N in the days it was B&N. The family lived in those days on a sheep farm in Bolton. In early July, Brent collapsed, folded, and died of a heart attack at his pre-wedding party up in Bucks Harbor, Maine. He dropped a cold Pilsner. You can laugh at that. That's kind of He would have been, the very next afternoon, married to his thought soon-to-be wife. Brent was 66 and Samson strong. You might ask why on that very day, 2,090 days before, why not 2 days or 20 months or 20 years after? What offense against the fickle gods of choice had he performed? He might have lived till 86. I wondered then and still do now, why then? What ripple of some past choice might have been a cause? The causal arrow of time, Brent so pondered. During his autumn memorial party, a party Brent would have liked up in Marlborough, New Hampshire, Brent's mountain howitzer boomed again and again outside the enormous tent, cram-jammed with friends, food, and drink. It was a bone-chilling cold that day, despite the big heaters and blowers. We all caught cruddy colds and spent the next few days in bed. That's the backstory. This little narrative is more like a day like this one. Spring, a day the black flies in New Hampshire were viciously thick and ravenous. The swarms had begun to gnaw on New Hampshire folks in earnest. Brent, well gnawed from working outside on our neighbor's rotted sill, put away his tools, eased into his big Ram pickup, and commenced the drive, the hour and 40 minutes to Philip Exeter to take his son, then a senior, out for what Print called grinders. I call them subs. Of course, there always persists that lie of senior spring. All the assured fun, blankets, giggles, pink fluff, fun promised in a neverland of cotton candy. More realistically and more truthfully, it was a lousy day for Print's son. It was a real senior spring, much like those at any prep school. Big papers due, AP exams, a plethora of tics, the usual romantic breakups, familiar words like, let's just be friends for the summer, and for next year too. The procrastinations, the avoidance of packing all the clothes and detritus of the year, a futile attempt at saying goodbye to one place and reaching out in a tentative hello to the shadowy ghost of the next. So in the midst of all this, Prent calls from the road on his I-everything to say he was a few miles away, wanting to take his son out for lunch and confabulate, which in the world of Prent Colby could have been hours. We already know that Prent could turn a normal response to, hey, how you doing, into an afternoon of deep and protracted talk. Thus his son, Eben, is torn. He loves his dad, but it couldn't be worse timing. Yet he acquiesces because he's a good, dutiful kid, and he hops up into the big Ram pickup used for Prent's long drives, and they head to Gandolfo's on Portsmouth Avenue. The two order at the counter and wait. Prent, now over by the cooler, asks his distracted son what he wants to drink with his grinder. Eben, full of thoughts about the Dresden of his relationship with a girl, the upcoming papers, his APs, thoughts of Exeter, Stanford, leaving his friends behind, responds, I don't care. It doesn't matter. It is then that Prent slowly walks over to the counter where Eben is standing, lays a working man's hand on his shoulder, and says, dude, it does matter. Consider our founding headmaster, Frank Davis Ashburn from Batavia, Ohio. Little Army brat, a long way off from Massachusetts, 898.1 miles from where we are at this moment. How did little Frank Ashburn or his parents think of Groton as a choice? Why choose a fledgling Groton over a long-established Andover or Exeter? The Ashburn family might have chosen St. Paul's, founded in 1856, and Frank Ashburn might never have met Endicott Peabody, his headmaster, who groomed Frank Ashburn to be his senior prefect at Groton, groomed him for admission to Yale, and later combed, cajoled, and prodded Ashburn to become headmaster of a brand new school Peabody had in mind. Petey, if you didn't know, is the bronze guy in the link with a shiny nose. That same Peabody once established a little Episcopal church we once visited while in Tombstone, Arizona, the town that would not die, as it was called in the days of the old Wild West. In 1882, Peabody was preaching in Tombstone, Arizona, just months after the gunfight at the OK Corral. And following one of his sermons about coveting a neighbor's cattle, cold-conked an irate rustler who challenged Peabody to a fight. Imagine for a moment that Peabody had chosen to stay on in Tombstone with his buddies Wyatt and Virgil Earp and Doc Holliday. He'd never have gone on to found Groton School had Frank Ashburn chosen Andover or Exeter or even St. Paul's over Groton. He might have gone to Princeton, might not have turned down his Rhodes Scholarship and gone on to Oxford. But Ashburn chose Yale, later Columbia Law School. Ashburn was generally thought to become either a Supreme Court justice or President of the United States. He obviously chose neither. Maybe if one of Frank Davis Ashburn's choices was not taken, maybe choosing a left fork instead of a right, what is now Brooks School would probably be a nursing home. I'd be here. or a housing development, I wouldn't be here, or just another golf course. Where might you be on earth at this moment as a result? Certainly not here. Perhaps you might consider the chain of events that made you. Made you. From before you were even you to the you that you are right this second. If you were born on a Wednesday, conceived on some prior Monday, would you still be you? Or would you be someone different? Maybe you'd be your brother, maybe your sister. Or is there the distinct possibility that you might never be? Each of you, I think, is a unique moment in time and space in a long, long line of causes. Which college are you headed to? Who are the people you meet there? Will it make a difference? I would venture a yes. But who would you be if you met or chosen to go somewhere else? Would that make a difference? What hundreds of daily choices matter to your yet unknown future that lies ahead? All of them? A salient few? Which choice matters? Which choice might not matter in your hopefully long passage of future time? Likely all of them will matter. Questions and choices, questions and choices. Tick, tick, the big clock ticks all the while. When I do count the hours that the clock that tells the time, says Shakespeare in Sonnet 12, what choice will allow a long life? What blundering choice might bring about a shorter one? Imagine a voice whispering, dude, because of that stupid choice you made, you have fewer than 3 birthdays left. What will you major in college or university you choose? Will that affect the result of who you'll become? Will one course you've taken change the way you look at a you in this world? Will yet another choice careen those beliefs into an iceberg in some soul sea of confluence, sinking them? Have you ever considered the myriad decisions that will make up the trajectory of your yet unknown outcome? Think of yourself at 30, now 50, try 70. How will you ever get to where your future might be waiting because of a seemingly simple, insignificant choice, or some mischoice in a future that couldn't stand there waiting any longer? Have you thoughtlessly picked pears over peaches in the fruit stand of oblivion for the last 14, 15, or 18 years? Which door, which path, which walkway matters? Listen carefully as you go through one chosen door instead of another in a long line of those open doors that lie before you throughout your life. Like Thomas Wolfe wrote, you can't go home again. You can't go home again because the present isn't even there anymore, neither in its past form, neither in the past idea, nor in the past feeling. It's such an intricate matrix. There's only your future and your present, which has, after this nanosecond, become your past, and it's too late. So I ponder, must we always choose so wisely? Dare to eat a peach? In chaos theory, the butterfly effect theorizes that a small change in one state can result in large differences in a later state, at a later time, and in a later space. The raging hurricane experienced in some tomorrow may have been influenced by a seemingly insignificant minor incident, such as the tiny flap of wings of a most distant butterfly. That wing flap having taken place several weeks earlier and far, far away in both time and space. A very small change in an initial condition in a now can create a significantly different outcome in a distant later. Have you listened to a weather report lately? What little flap caused 7 inches of rain instead of 1? Remember Jurassic Park? Followed the news? Remembered the words, weapons of mass destruction? Understand what that misread piece of wind flap intelligence has done to the stability of the Middle East. Iraq is in shambles, Iran is unchecked, Syria is a hellhole, and ISIS is seeking a caliphate. Could even the little wing flap in this story, a seemingly meaningless, it doesn't matter decision, a choice between a Snapple peach tea and a Maine root ginger brew to slurp down along with a grinder, matter? Could that choice make a difference, if not in your future, then perhaps in a distant someone else's? Brent Colby would have said, dude, it does matter. And in looking over my own 70 years and the brontosaurus tale of my past choices, I would agree, because, dude, it really does matter. Thank you.